Hi, I'm Emily Andrews here at the Sanford Center for Worship and the Arts, where I also teach music and worship.
Hi, I'm Nelson Cowan. I'm at the Center for Worship and the Arts at Sanford University.
And I'm Sarah Kathleen Johnson. I'm a professor of worship and practical theology at St. Paul University, which is in Ottawa in Canada.
So in large parts of our work, we hear lots of people talk about young people and worship. And oftentimes, very quickly, those conversations go into strategies for recruiting young people, keeping them there, or making worship work for all the young people. And oftentimes, unintentionally, of course, these conversations make it sound like young people might be a problem to solve in our congregations, or something that we have to work overdrive to do to reach them. And the Young People for Christian Worship study really begins with a different set of assumptions and a different question. So the purpose of our study is to listen deeply to young people and their experiences of corporate Christian worship. We're especially listening to young people ages 13 to 29, teenagers and emerging adults. And our aim is descriptive, to hear about their lived experiences of Christian worship. But the aim doesn't end there. Hopefully, we, by the end of our study, are able to amplify the voices of young people, taking their insights and integrating them into liturgical theology, into congregational ministry and its practice, to renew and enrich the worship of many communities, of all worshipers in those communities. So to help us listen well, we have approached a binational, mixed methods, multi-site study. We're engaging qualitative and quantitative methods of study. We're gathering some really rich data to help us listen well to young people.
In the Young People in Christian Worship study, we are listening to actively religious young people. We're listening to highly religious young people who are involved in their congregations, in their campus ministries, in summer camps, young people who are already leaders, who are being the church today, who are leading the church in worship today. We're listening to young people across Christian traditions, those who are engaged in evangelical worship spaces, in mainline Protestant worship spaces, and Roman Catholic worship spaces. And we're listening to young people across Canada and the United States at 9 different sites. At these sites, we do individual interviews with emerging adults, where we can really hear their personal stories, their deep personal reflections, and unpack those together. We're listening through focus groups with teenagers, where they can spark ideas off each other and build on each other's insights and conversation. And we're listening through participant observation, seeing what young people are doing in worship in these very different regions, in these different Christian traditions, how they're learning about worship, how they're leading worship, how they're participating in worship. And we're also listening through a survey with more than 1,400 participants from across the United States, where they also reflect on their experiences of Christian worship. We're listening across age groups. There's a big difference between a 13-year-old and a 29-year-old. We're hearing about how experiences of worship change over that stage of life, and how that can enrich the experience of all worshipers from across ages in these different traditions and these different contexts.
One thing about this project is that we have so much beautiful, rich data that speaks to a wide diversity of traditions and a wide diversity of ages kind of within that young people category. And the question we often get is so what? Okay, you've got these fancy numbers, you've got a lot of this 1,400 people respond to the survey. What do we actually do with this data? What do we do with it as pastors? What do we do with it as worship leaders, as dedicated volunteers? How do we actually translate some of this learning into our congregation on the local level? And I think for us, part of the main purpose really of this, as Emily mentioned and as Sarah also alluded to, is that listening is the primary responsibility of this work. And we're trying to model what that can look like in congregations. So in our study, we're modeling deep listening so that you and your own congregations can model that same deep listening to the young people in your congregations, so that you can enrich the worship life for all people. Initially, when we started the project, our question was, what can we learn about young people, and what do they value. And we are interested in what young people value. We're interested in what they experience, but not so that we can kind of take that and then make these kind of changes at the local level. We're interested in learning more about worship itself, and what are young people teaching us about worship for all people. And I think when we kind of listen deeply to what these young people are saying about worship, that enriches everybody on the local level.